With less than 4 months until the midterms, the Trump administration is escalating efforts to reshape how states run elections. The Justice Department warned all 50 states this week they could face criminal charges over non-citizens voting, a crime election officials say is virtually non-existent, as the administration threatens to withhold federal funding from states that refuse to change their voting procedures. Joining me now, Colorado Secretary of State Jena Griswold. She is also the Democratic candidate for Colorado Attorney General, which keeps you awfully busy these days. Secretary, thank you for making time for us. But listen, by threatening prosecution against states, if they knowingly leave citizens on their voter rolls or allow non-citizens to receive or cast ballots, the administration maintains it's merely enforcing election law. So if states already have rules preventing non-citizen voting, what is the point of these demands?
Thanks for having me on. First off, I really appreciate it. And I think you're exactly right. Look, this is already the law. And the point of this letter is twofold. The first is to intimidate election officials with the threat of prosecution, to try to push election officials to allow the federal government to exercise control over state-run elections. We are seeing those efforts backfire. I think it is, to say the least, rubbing election officials very wrong to get threats of prosecution from the DOJ. And the second purpose of this letter is to continue to push out lies and misinformation about non-citizen voting, which we know is extremely rare. So this is just one more example of Trump using every lever of the federal government to try to undermine the 26th election. It is not working. It will not work. And we are going to continue to hold the line.
Okay, but as you know, the DOJ is giving states until just tomorrow to tell the federal government how they intend to comply with the law. Have you, or do you intend to respond? And again, because these laws already exist.
That's a great question. Several states have already responded. I think some states will respond. Some states will ignore the letter. The state of Colorado does intend to respond, and just at a very high level, once again, assuring all parties that we, of course, are following state and federal law. But I think just to take a step back, we have seen Trump use the weaponization of the federal government to try to undermine the 26th election. He has issued, at this point in his second term, 2 executive orders on elections. They have largely been stopped by the courts. The DOJ is suing many states, including Colorado, because they want to get their hands on sensitive voter data. I told them to take a hike, and we look forward to beating them in court. So we see this as just one more attempt to try to put pressure on election officials to allow the federal government something they really want, but they have no right to, and that's exercising control over these state-run elections.
The DOJ has said that it will send federal election monitors to polling places in 3 Michigan cities, all of them Democratic strongholds, for that state's August 4 primary, and they're citing fraud concerns. And let's note, a Republican-led investigation looked into Michigan's 2020 election and found no evidence of widespread or systematic fraud, right? So is the federal government within its rights to observe polling sites? Because I'm curious where the line is between oversight and disruption or interference.
So we've seen since 2016, if not before, Trump really lean into his big lie. And he has been doubling down on it, the lie about the elections in this country. And honestly, I imagine it's because he knows that MAGA and his movement may face tremendous losses. So they're laying the groundwork to undermine the 26th election. As long as observers are following the law, it's fine. But of course, it's illegal under state and federal law in Colorado and in many states to disrupt the peaceful administration of an election. So again, these are our tactics. We also saw this week that Trump fired the remaining commissioners of the AEIC, which is a commission that is focused on elections. Again, that firing, is it going to disrupt 26? No, it is not. But it's all these little things within the federal government that Trump is trying to disrupt, to inject chaos. And honestly, Alex, I do not think he will succeed. Election officials are holding the line. I think voters understand what is at risk. And we are just asking every American of good conscience who believes in the rule of law, who believes in free and fair elections, to do what you have to do if you are eligible to vote to make your voice heard this upcoming election.
Now, I want to pick up on that firing of those 3 election officials, because here's what the White House said about it. They said that the dismissals are intended to prevent fraud and ensure only legal votes are counted. Does that even make sense? Isn't that what their job is?
No, it makes no sense whatsoever. So to get in the weeds a little bit with you on this one, the EAC has been in the center of Trump's first election order crosshairs from his executive order on elections during his second term. He wanted this commission to issue new voting system standards, but his executive order was stopped by the courts, and then some of the commissioners wanted to move forward by themselves. They were impeded by a working group of election officials. And long story short, they were not able to deliver what Trump wanted, and that's new voting system standards. He got mad and he fired them or forced them out in other ways. And I think it's just another instance where he will push anybody out who does not go along with his efforts to undermine the elections. And you may ask, well, why does he want new voting system standards? And again, I think it feeds into these conspiracies that there is something wrong with how this country does elections. American elections are safe and secure. They are safe and secure. There's bipartisan oversight. Every state is a little different. Thankfully, we have decentralized elections, so it's very hard for a rogue federal government, a hostile federal government, to seize control. And, you know, we've seen over and over that Trump is in an open power grab. He does not like the freedom to vote, and he's trying to grab on control. Luckily, he has failed largely in all of those efforts.
All I can say is, Jena Griswold, you keep on keeping on. I want to thank you for the conversation. Appreciate you.